Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to be going ahead and getting started in just a minute, but just to make sure that you get to see all aspects of the presentation, I just want to make sure that you can hear us okay. So if you can let us know where you're joining us from. And if you haven't already activated your audio, you should see that audio option so you can join via your computer audio or phone call, depending on what you prefer. Awesome. So we have Martha joining us from New Jersey, Samir in Virginia, Blue in Astoria, Oregon. Oh my gosh, I love that place. If you haven't been to, I'm sure you have if you live there, unless you're vacationing there. But there's like a pizza place and brewery and everything that's super good. So highly recommend. Not to get distracted or anything. We also have Kate joining us from Peoria, Barbara from New York. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm glad that you guys can hear us. Without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Ari and get started on why you guys are all here today. So thank you guys.
Hi, everybody. Also here on the line today, we have Megan, who many of you have worked with. Todd Litzman, owner of Brandwise, is also here. If you guys can turn your cameras on just for a second, just to wave so that no one out there thinks I'm just making it up. There's Megan, there's Todd, okay. I'm really excited to be here. I was lucky enough to be able to do some work with your chapter vendor advisors about asking about what were their questions so that I could get some answers together for all of you and give you some updates. To begin with, if everyone wants to try to figure out the best way to do this. If you all want to type in your questions or say, I have a question, then we can unmute you so you can ask your question. I'll start by giving a couple of updates about what's coming, what's going on the site. I believe we have about 100 vendors right now. Megan, if I'm way off on that number, you can correct me. Somewhere around 50,000 SKUs. There's about a quarter of the vendors who haven't yet started to, haven't either completed putting their product up or haven't put any of their product up. There is a functionality that's coming in the next iteration where the MSA will be able to hide those vendors until they're ready and then turn them back on. Plus, we have a lot of exciting new elements coming, like categories, which we know that we've been asked for. And there's been a lot of questions about how different search, how the search function works, with long description goes, and so on. So I want to work through some of that, but I think the best kind of most efficient way to do this might be to start with your questions so that I'm not just talking at you. So there's a little ability to raise your hand and ask a question. So if someone raises their hand, Callie will unmute them and you can ask your question. So let's start with some questions out there. Dean, John, Mark, come on, someone has to have a question. That's why you're here. Anyone raise their hand? You raise your hand, the little thing that looks like that.
So I'll give you some questions. So
Ibai has a question.
What's that?
Ibai has a question. So let's. Some of them came in. Okay, Todd, go ahead.
Yeah. So I answered this one, but we can. So Hala had a question. Why are the product quantities not shown in the vendor view? And my answer to that was a question, because I like to answer questions with questions, which is, do you mean why can't you add product in the vendor view? So I'm waiting on that. And then the add-on to that was, why can't a vendor have an option to view their store from the perspective of the buyer?
So you can see that, and you do that through your passport. Basically, when in your passport and your business connections, if you click on shop next to the Museum Store Association, it'll take you in and you'll be able to see exactly what all of your products look like.
So actually,
turn your camera on.
What's that?
Turn your camera on.
Oh. Sorry. Okay. So now that you clarified, so the question is more related to quantity in stock. Mm-hmm. So on the details page, and if you click on that right now, it's not there, but when you see a product on the image and you click the detail, in the detail is where the quantity on hand is going to be published. So you're uploading it, we're not displaying it yet. So that's one of the things that's being built in right now, is so that when the retailer clicks, and you'll be able to do this in your vendor view, when you click on the image and you get to the detail view on the right side, that's where it's going to have your quantity on hand. So it's enforcing that. It's not displaying it yet, Hala, so that's why you're not seeing it.
Enforcing it means that, so in transit, there's the opportunity for you to put in quantity on hand. If you put in 0, they won't be able to order it. And that's kind of one of the parts of the function, is to make sure that it's available. So if you're using that and you put the quantity in right now and Todd say it's enforcing it, they won't let them order a quantity if it's not available.
Yeah, and it is, so your question about an enhancement to come, yeah, and it's actually being worked on. So it'll be something that comes out within the next 3 to 6 weeks, if not sooner than that, but that's kind of the general time frame for that. So yeah, that's being done.
All right, next question. Want to be able to add more than one image?
As somebody on this said, that's an enhancement to come. So the multi-images, it's something that Brandwise hasn't had in the system before. So building it in where you can upload the images and how it's displayed is on the roadmap, just not something that's currently in development. So our roadmap goes out of ways to give you an idea of next things, and Ari's going to show some of this. We're currently working on finalizing the categories for you guys so you'll be able to create your categories. Then after, which also have breadcrumbs, by the way, so the retailer can use the breadcrumbs. The next piece after that is going to be digital flipbook catalogs, getting the catalogs in, and a few other things. And then also on the roadmap is the multiple images and different things like that. So those are all things that are on the product roadmap.
I'll jump in right now and I'll show categories. So categories are going to be established by you. We've gotten a lot of feedback about the need for them, and it's not that we didn't know it. We put out the starting point for the marketplace, and it's working. Orders are coming in. I was talking with Blue Anderson today. She said she's already found 4 new vendors on the site and placed orders with them, which is fantastic. Blue's the president, in case you didn't know. So I want to show real quick what the category. Hold on. I want to show real quick. If you can make me the presenter. Callie, can you make me the presenter?
You're an organizer. You should be able to just change presenter on the right.
Okay. I'll do it on screen 2. Okay. Are you looking at Western Sales?
We're looking at you.
You don't see anything.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Yep.
So the right now, this is the way the site looks. Right. You have the brands down the side, and then there's the lifestyle image for each brand. So when the categories are put in, which you'll be putting in, so this one is for this example is for Baumgartner, they'll be able to define. So in this case, they've defined 2 categories: lighting and seating. Then beyond that, once they click inside lighting, they would have hanging lights, floor standing lights, desk, and it'll go up as far as, I believe, 4 subcategories. So you'll be defining what they are, and this is how they'll appear. So they'll expand from your presence on the left-hand side, and they'll be able to search. What we believe from the reason why we started where we did with the product searches, we know that's how most of the discovery begins. But then once you find the supplier you want to work with and you want to dig a little bit deeper, then buyers tend to use these menus on the left. So that's what's coming in the next, I believe in the next iteration, Todd. When will we expect to see categories?
Sorry about that. The categories are being worked on as we speak. So they're being done in, they start the back end work next week. They've already got a lot of the front end stuff going. And then what that will do is that's going to add the category section into your flat file that you're uploading right now in transit. So you'll be able to put in a top level category, sub level category, the different sub levels like Ari showed. It'll just be on the line item that comes in your transit file. So that'll be added into the mapping in transit. That'll upload in, and then the retailers will be able to choose from that.
To use it. Okay. Let's get to some other questions here before we show more.
So I can kind of answer actually on Blue your question regarding can vendors see what we have in our, what does it say?
In our carts for future
buys. So I'm not 100% sure I understand.
Basically, Blue has started a bunch of orders that she's going to pull the trigger on January 3rd when her new financial year starts. And right. So the question is can the vendors see those orders that are in progress?
Right. So the vendors can't see them as we speak today. So they see an order when you submit it. and this will tie a little bit, Torben, into your question, which was, can we see if a buyer's browsing your line? So in the platform that we have, that the MSA site's in, all of the activities are captured in the marketing engine of that. So Blue, to your question, whenever you add an item to a cart or create a cart, I right now can go in and see that you've done that and what items you have in that. We're getting that marketing engine basically role-based, so that as the association, and then for the suppliers attached to the association, the answer to both of those would be yes. So you'd be able to see that somebody went in and they left a cart abandoned, or they're adding items but they haven't submitted them yet. Yeah. Or Blue, to your point, you've got a number of carts sitting out there and they may want to contact you and say, hey, I see that you're doing that, but I've got this special. So we're capturing all of those analytics today, and we're building the front end on that so that you guys have access to that. You know, as soon as we get that in, we're building those roles. That's also an active project.
Dan has 5 brands. In the future, will I be able to create sub-brands or categories on our page? The answer is yes. So you're probably your first, you know, from there, the first would be 5. The question of whether or not they'd be listed as separate brands would be, you know, in the actual brand search would be more of an MSA decision as to whether or not you could, you know, with one membership, you would have 5 presences.
Yeah, and if you did that, Dan, if you had 5 brands, which systematically you can have, they'd all be listed as different brands. You'd end up uploading a file for each brand, or you can upload one file for your brand and have your the 5 categories of brands underneath it, which may be more intuitive for discovery.
I'm going to take a break from the questions for a moment. Todd, if you want to study those next ones, I'm going to show the site for a minute, because there's still a lot of people that haven't necessarily seen it that are on this call. This is the live MSA site. The Museum of Italian Cooking is not a real museum. It's a store that I created. I actually did place a test order. I placed the first test order through the site. But this is these are all the brands that have connected to the site, and about 75% of them have their data ready. You can see, you know, some of them. If you haven't sent in your lifestyle image, that's why you have this. And if you haven't sent in any product, that's why it shows this. The brand doesn't currently have any product. But if you go to, let's check out, let's see, Quilling Card. So Quilling Card has, oh, there was an issue. I had my Bill Gates moment. I think it's because I was within a search. Sorry about that. I was already within a search. So let's go to Quilling Card. So Quilling Card has their products. They have their images. So here, what's missing here on your transit file or in the site, there are 3, right now there are 3 searchable fields. That's going to increase, but for now there's 3, and I wanted to let everyone know this, and we'll send this out in communication. The SKU, the product name, and the long description. What we call the short description, and we understand that this created some confusion, is actually a field that's used for scannable barcodes for like in showroom use. So that's actually not searchable. So long description, product name, and the SKU are what's searchable right now. But the long description, if you add in the long description, that'll fit here. That's kind of that romance copy that talks about the product, which is I think right now up to 255 characters. That's what would go here. The zoom function has been added recently, which is nice. And another I just want to show for anyone who hasn't seen the site, if somebody was searching for owls, what would come up would be product from across every single supplier that has owls. So here we have David Howell & Co. We have, what did I see? Joe Cool. We have Lucky Feather, Cardthartic, Studio Daedra, more David Howell, Melange Collection. We have 18 pages of products that have owls in them. What's interesting is if you go to the bottom, there were some questions about how the search function works. So it starts with the closest match. So it's going to look specifically for the word owl. And if we instead did the word owl card, it would look for any cards that had an owl on them. Beyond that, it starts to get, it uses, I guess, Todd would be correct to say, fuzzy logic.
It's fuzzy logic searching.
Fuzzy logic. where it would start looking for things that had either something that was similar to owl, if you saw there were things at the end that said bowl, and it's going to learn as it goes. So it said, got to owl ornament because maybe if you liked owl cards, you're going to be interested also in an owl ornament, but it lists them first. It's going to be by its own logic, and then it's going to learn based on where the buyers go and what they click on.
Yep. Hey, go ahead.
I was gonna put some things in a cart, but let's switch to
will you click on just click on a brand?
Sure.
And then click on show brand profile. That's fine.
Well, I want to show one that, okay, well, let's go ahead. All right, show brand file. So let's go to,
okay, and then brand profile. Perfect. Okay. So this text that's over on the right also just got added. So in your supplier dashboard, when you guys are, when you're not Museum of Cooking Retail, but when you're in your supplier passport, in your profile for the business, you can now go in there and edit your name and all the rest of it. But you can also put in up to 350 characters of information about your brand, and that will show up in the brand profile. So if you haven't done that, make sure you go in and do that. It'll tell you when you've reached the limit, but a great place to put some information about the brand in there.
And we're going to follow up some of these specific points, like which things are searchable and what Todd just said about putting in this brand profile. We're going to send this out, emails from here forward with each time we come out with more features and more opportunities for you. I got specific wording from the CVAs. The title is going to be MSA Marketplace Vendor Action Item. So if you see an email with the subject line MSA Marketplace Vendor Action Item, make sure to open it because it means something has happened. So we'll send out the first one that'll have that in it. Let's get to some questions.
Yeah. So so for IBEA, I apologize. eBuy. Thank you. Sorry about that. We'll be able to change the order of the way products are listed in our store. So we have in the data, which we're not using yet for the site, but we will, the ability to put a sequence number on product. So that gets used by companies that maybe they say, I've got 10 new products, I want them at the very top regardless. So they'll sequence them 1 to 10 and leave everything else alphabetical. But you can use that sequence. You will be able to use that sequence to set how you want it to show up in your gallery. So again, there's a lot that we're continuing to iterate on to get what we have currently built, the new stuff to parity. So we're running, doing that stuff all the time. And these types of sequences are in the data, just not exposed yet on the front end. So as we get more of that in, that'll be part of where you can add that sequence to your product file in transit and dictate what the order of that is. So that's that one. There was another, the other question, Catherine, on will the stores always be sorted alphabetically? That's an interesting question and a source of discussion pretty frequently around here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ari.
A couple of things, Catherine. Hi, Catherine. A couple of things. The on the roadmap is also are going to eventually be categories for the suppliers, meaning jewelry, toy, educational, publishers. These it'll probably live across the top, which is what we're seeing, which is what the buyers want. That if they want to, while we know that search doesn't begin that way, search begins with the search bar, putting in, I'm looking for an owl pendant, and then I see Catherine has one, David has one, so on. But being able to at least go and look at companies that have identified as jewelry. That's also going to be possible. So that will help a bit because obviously everyone will start changing their name to whatever. Sorry, but Todd, you take it from there.
No, I think it becomes to the point Ari's making. I mean, we're going to give the grouping so that we can have jewelry companies and stuff that the MSA will be able to group into brands that way. But when you get to a website, and we've looked around at a bunch of them, and if you have a presentation of brands and they're not alphabetical, and what we don't want to do is allow from a Brandwise perspective, I'm not speaking on behalf of the MSA, but just from our perspective, that selling ranking isn't something Brandwise would want to do on these sites. So that if you said, to the association, we'll give you this much money, put our brand at the top. That's a discussion that you can have with MSA, but not something that Brandwise does. So that's kind of, it's kind of a weird.
When we went back and forth, I'm just going to pop up the site again for a moment here. There was question about this list on the left. The list on the left, a lot of sites don't have them, or they have the ability to make them go away. Which is also possible on ours. We left it here specifically for the Museum Store Association because we know that the buyers, it's not 10,000 buyers. It's not 10,000 vendors, right? It's 100, it's 200. What we wanted to do was we wanted to be able to give a buyer a quick opportunity to scroll down to Rosanna Imports and start shopping, right? Scroll down to KJK Jewelry and start shopping. And that's, why we left it on the side here. So it's meant more as a quick jump. The element in the middle, the part in the middle is where if we do put in some kind of a randomizer, that's where it would sit. We want the efficiency for the buyers, which they've expressed, that they want to be able to jump to a brand quickly so that they can go there and they don't want to have to hunt around for it. They can also, or they will be able to also put in a search within the general search bar and get to in one of the, Todd, how far off is that? Is that in this iteration or future one where the brands will come up also?
Yeah, so future. So what we're looking at, so the way the search works, just to kind of give you an idea of this, because there's a lot of questions, which are really good questions on the way this happens. It's an intelligent search. It's a search engine called Elasticsearch. And you basically build into that how you want to score things. So where Ari was saying, if I put in the word silver, it's going to bring everything that has specifically silver to the top. Then it'll bring things that have SILV or whatever it happens to be towards the bottom. We're also going to start to build into the logic of that when there's categories and then different and brands, where when I search for something, it will also be able to search the brand in the category. So if you're in a category called jewelry and you search jewelry, it would say, okay, here's brands with jewelry in them across the top. Here's categories with jewelry in them. And then here's products with jewelry in them.
Yeah.
So it's going to continue to iterate on that to where it gets to the point where you'll be able to search something. And if your brand has that in it, so if I searched books, Applewood would show up as a brand as well as just product. So those are all things that are being iterated into or continue to be developed into the search.
And it's also important to keep in mind that what the suppliers want and what the buyers want are often in conflict. A buyer wants a search bar where they can just search for a product, or they want to search for a brand. But it's making a one size fits all is going to be tough. We're going to keep adding the options. We'll keep experimenting with it. But I'm excited to see what comes next. I have a question here from Thimgan. I apologize if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. Alphabetical is good when people know the name of the vendor they are looking for. This is true. And we're only going to have more vendors, not fewer. Again, this list on the left is meant really for that, where if they don't know the vendor that they're looking for, what we think they're going to do. What company are you from, Thimgan? I want to look at I want to do something that brings up a product of yours. Lucuma. Okay. So, all right. Oh, I know your stuff. It's really cute. Sure. I think I even know you. All right. So if we had the most important thing to search for, lions. So we push this up. We have Joe Cool, Channelcraft, Kamibashi, pomegranate, and melange, pomegranate. Are we going to get to the Kuma? Or do you have anything that says lion on it? That's the question. Did I miss it? Hold on, let me go back.
Yes, he does.
Okay. So unfortunately, fortunately, so do a lot of your competitors. So I guess that's the question. Let's try this. Lion puppet. Oh, something didn't work right there. Let's try it again. Is this me, Todd?
Maybe just go look for a product in his brand. So we can pull, do owl ornament.
I think I'm stuck in some kind of a loop.
Shouldn't be.
Everyone's product's coming up except for yours. Don't know why. Well, that's just crazy. Although everyone else would probably like the results.
Search owl ornament in there just for the heck of it.
Of course, now it's slower because I'm on video.
I don't know. We'll have to look at what's going on with that. But
Yeah, I have to look at your stuff. For some reason, your products aren't coming up. I
which
don't
may
know
be why when you were saying earlier you didn't see the owl in there. So we'll figure that
Yeah,
out.
might be something wrong with Lukuma. Okay, next question. But we will try to get to the bottom of that.
What have you done, Ari?
What have I done?
I don't know.
I think I'm having speed issues.
I'm just checking on my end. Okay. Okay. Let's see what other questions.
I think
Can you
this is
just,
me.
can you log out, close that, log out and
Yeah.
log back in?
I will. I think it's also because of
Close all your passports. You got three open.
okay.
One of the other questions was, which is an interesting one. So when we did the searches, you see the products that have the no image in them. And the question was, can we push the images, the product without images to the bottom, which has been certainly a discussion that we've had as well.
Just wanted to say I put in alpaca and you came up first.
Yay.
So we'll try to figure out why you didn't come up in the other cases, but I put in alpaca and there you are. You came up first, so ahead of everyone else. The crazy logic.
I would market the alpaca, but we'll figure out what's going on with the rest of the search. But the question also asked was, when you do a search, you get a lot of product that doesn't have images. Can those images be pushed to the bottom? The no image product be pushed to the bottom of the list?
Yeah.
In theory, the answer to that would be, yeah, we could change the search for doing that. Again, that'll be something that the MSA would need to weigh in on whether, just because you don't have an image, if somebody knew they were going to look for a specific product,
Yeah.
they don't need an image to buy it. But if you're looking to be discovered, it's stuff without an image.
And this is where, I mean, I know that on the roadmap, there's the option there'll be a checkbox that the buyer can say, only products with images, which might be, which we know we'll put there. For right now, this is where Brandwise was be careful about making decisions that are actually MSA decisions. It was noted by one of the board members that there are a lot of brands on here that don't yet have images or product, which can be frustrating for the buyers. There's a little bit of a Darwinian reality there, which is if you don't have images, you can't make sales.
Yeah, Catherine asked the question, will it be possible to hide items until they have an image? Not the items, but we're actually adding the into the system, which is being worked on not next week, but I think it starts to work the week after that, Catherine, where on the MSA passport, you'll have a brand dashboard. And if you have a brand that has no product in it at all and things like that, or they don't have images, you'll be able to temporarily turn them off until the images get loaded and then turn them back on, which is not something you can do now, but that will give you a bit more of that. You replace the broken image symbol with the company logo. Catherine also asked if we could replace the broken image with the company logo. Is that the company logo that's missing the image or the MSA logo? Then I imagine it's probably the company's, the brand's logo, but
Uh,
potentially.
John has asked how much has been sold on the site to date and in what categories. We're supplying that data to the MSA. It's not actually ours to share, so we'll pass along that the vendors would like an update and a report. But what we do know, the only part that I'll say that I wish was a bit higher, and I guess that this will happen with more communication. We've got about 75 buyers that have connected so far, and obviously we need to get that number up. Now we know that museums are closed. We know that a lot of museums have a lot of stock that they bought and they have it for exhibits that aren't even going to happen. But we would like to see that number up, and I believe it from the conversations that I've had that there's going to be a push to get more of them to sign up, which will obviously make a difference. And I think the new year will make a difference as well. I did want to talk a little bit about how to use how to grab a URL so that you can drive traffic directly there. For example, if you're posting in on the product Fridays, feature Fridays, Freaky Fridays, I forget what it's called, and how you would do that. It's actually quite simple. There's two different URLs you can grab. So if we look here at Channelcraft, if Channelcraft wanted to drive, was doing a post and wanted to drive them to their whole collection, they would simply navigate to Channelcraft and then up here, grab this URL. It's as simple as that. You can take that URL and you can put it into a link, or you can just leave it as a URL. Or if there was a specific product, the Audubon bird call with your logo. So you can actually then grab this specific. So you can grab either a URL from the specific product or from your brand, put that, embed that into anything. And if the buyer doesn't have a passport, it's a great way to get them to do it, because when they try to use the link, it's going to drive them to start to say, oh, you need to either sign into your passport or you need to create one. That passport is their account, is their access into it. Okay, so what's next?
The question on custom product, or you can answer that. If your product's 100% custom, how would you list
an item? So this is an exciting area of development that we're going to be working towards. I've asked a group of 3 or 4 custom manufacturers out there, and actually, if you'd like to be part of this conversation, shoot me an email. What we know is the site will never be a cafe press, right? You load your image in. One, it's not practical because everyone works differently. And 2, I know from having worked with museums to make custom product that the actual process is much longer. And it's not just simply a click and buy. So what we need to do is we need to create an apparatus by which it makes sense that someone actually can, place an order, or can, more importantly for the custom manufacturers out there, is discoverability. That's what we know is the name of the game right now, is discoverability. The way the site is set up right now, it's transactional. Now, custom was always envisioned as part of the roadmap, but MSA has a lot of specificity and a huge amount of experience in it. So for any custom manufacturers out here, if you'd like to be part of the conversation about what the most important first steps will be, send me an email, alowenstein@brandwise.com. Say, I want to be part of it, and we'll put you in that group, because we want to make it work for you. What we want to avoid is that we're doing any big lifts in terms of development that isn't something that's actually going to be useful for you. Everybody, I developed jewelry, I developed printed, I developed textiles, I developed, and it all varies. But we need the discoverability to work, but at the same time, we don't want you putting into, someone places a $3,000 order for custom, at which now you're on the hook for, and that either changes to 40,000 or 3,000 or 300, or it never happens. So we want to be sensitive to that, but we want to make sure that it works for the MSA and that it works for you. So how would I recommend it right now? The way I'd recommend it right now is make sure you have discoverability. Put your product in there with an image. Use the long description to talk about what you do. Put the word custom in it. This is a workaround because obviously they can't place an order for it, but what they can do is they can discover you. And you can put in your brand description, contact us for more information. A custom sale is not a, click, click, buy, right? I know that. I spent enough years doing it. So that's what I'm going to recommend. Put the word custom into your product name. put some information about, what the quantities are. But remember, if they place an order for it, that's going to come through as an order. So we want you to use the system the way it's supposed to be used, but it's not yet prepared for custom. So put it in the long description, put it in your brand description, put the information in there, but make sure that you're discoverable, because that's what we want right now. And if you have success, let everybody know. Because we've never had, the MSA has never had anything like this. There are 50,000 SKUs on the site produced by MSA vendors that retailers can search. That is absolutely unprecedented. We've never had anything like it, and it's just going to grow. So if you make custom product, you want to be part of that discoverability. Custom will be one of the big categories in the future for sure, and then we'll get into more detail. But exactly how we're going to set that up, how that's going to work contractually, there's a lot of questions there. So I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I certainly understand the language. If you're interested, send me that email, alowenstein@brandwise.com, and I'll put you in as part of that group of how we're going to work with what we have in terms of establishing guidelines, and then what the first steps are going to be, going forward, and how that's going to be implemented. Hope that's a good answer, Faylene. Good. Blue Anderson said that the owl shows up when she typed Christmas. So there we go. Alessandra Bravo asked, how can we as vendors reach this catalog to grab those links? I have not found how. Okay, when you are in your Passport, go to, so you'll see that you're connected to the Museum Store Association. The little word shop, which is above the Museum Store Association, takes you into the site. Navigate to the product that you want to. So I'll show you. I'll do a demo right now. I'm going to pretend that I'm you. What's your store, Alessandra? Alessandra Bravo. Per quale società lavori? Oh, you're also at Lucuma. Okay, there we go. One-stop shopping today. All right, so I'm down in Lucuma. And I love the alpaca. And so I go to the alpaca and I just grab this. All I do is I grab that link up there. But the way you get there, I'll show you by going back out into my Passport. Okay. In your Passport, this is your Passport. Under your connections, you're going to have one here that says the Museum Store Association. Actually, I'm going to switch screens. And that will, oh, I want to switch to my other screen. Is this now showing the other one? Okay, so these are business connections that I have within Brandwise. So when I go down to the Museum Store Association, this is what you will see. You will see this. You will see that, the Museum Store Association. If you click on shop, Alessandra, if you click on this right here, that will take you into the site. You will see your product only, and you can grab those URLs.
Yeah, it brings you into a read-only view. So again, you can see whether your images look good, if they're there, if they're not, all the product information.
Yep.
You just can't add to a cart, but you can grab all the links from there. Either the brand link from when you first land on your page, and click on it at the top, it'll just have your brand at the end of the URL. That'll take people to your brand.
Yeah.
And then if you get into a product, then you can copy the links out like Ari did.
Jacques Zagori asked, thanks, is the website Passport presence included in membership? So if you are a Passport itself, Brandwise Passport is free to anybody, anyone in the world. They then connect to a business. If you are a supplier that's an active member of the Museum Store Association, then you have, then you'll be mapped into Brandwise. Your business will be set up there, and when you create your Passport, you'll be given the credentials to connect to your business. There's no charge. So if you're a member of the MSA, whether you're a retailer or a supplier, you can use your Passport to enter into the MSA marketplace. That Passport can also take you other places in the Brandwise ecosystem. And again, there's no charge for that. The only charge comes when there's actually a transaction. If you're a buyer, you got to pay your suppliers for your product. But other than that, there's no charges.
Yeah, and it doesn't look, Jack, like your brand, like your line is, like your line is listed on the site. There was an agreement that got sent out from Brandwise that needed to get signed, or if you're as long as you're a member of MSA. We just need to get that agreement signed, and then we get you connected on the site. So if you need that, let us know and we'll resend it.
If you go, the best way to start, Jack, is if you go to the top of the Museum Store Association website, at the very top, it says retailer access and vendor access. If you click on the vendor access, it'll give you some information, and that'll kind of get you started in the direction of getting connected.
Okay. And then Megan on here can send you, we'll get you the agreement out again, and we'll get you listed.
Yep. What else? A. Lowenstein at brandwise.com. That is correct. Okay. More questions? More questions, please.
You see Catherine's question in there? You want to answer that?
Which one?
Second at the bottom.
Is the MSA collected? Yes. Yes. So 3% of the sales goes is the transaction fee, and a portion of that goes to the Museum Store Association. And we're quite bullish on this being a great opportunity, not just for business. You know, interestingly, I talked with, it was another association site, it was another supplier, it was a different sector, but they said, Ari, I'm doing enough business with whatever the category was, and I said, I guarantee you that you're not hitting everybody. I guarantee you that there are new vendors for retailers, and that there are lots of new retailers for the vendors. So we're excited about the ability for it to bring everyone together, and we consider this. We hope that this becomes a significant revenue source for the MSA, especially in light of the fact that missing 2 expos in a row, and then in terms of physical ones, although I think they're going to do a virtual one, which is very exciting in the spring. But there's some questions out there, so we're looking at this for this to be a great revenue generator for the association.
Yep. There's been this question a couple times, so I'll just answer it live. When you go into Transit to upload your product files, there's a section at the top that says, you must upload a full file every time, and it gives you the different statuses of a product: active, inactive, and discontinued. So when you first send up the product file, so you have 100 products, and they're all active, you're going to send that whole product file up with the active flag as 1. And then from that point forward, we're looking for any products that are not in that file get removed. So if you made a change to one product and you upload a product file with 1 product in it, that's what will be represented on the site. So the question is, do we have to upload the full product file every time? The answer is yes. But if you want product if you don't want it on the site, you can leave it out and it will come off the site. Otherwise, you can send it up full with the active and inactive flag on it, and we'll manage it that way. That's the recommended. Just send the full file each time, just change your status.
And Mackenzie from Allport pointed out something quite accurate, which is, do not delete your old products. There's a few reasons for it, which are for me are important, but if they're inactive or if they're discontinued, just mark them as such. It keeps your file cleaner. And the one other piece about this, which is important, but I'll put it here. For any of you that are involved with agencies in the Brandwise ecosystem, or if you're part of the Greeting Card Association, the Canadian Gift Association, this same data that you're loading is going to, is already eligible for dozens of different marketplaces and agency sites. So when you're looking at the work that's connected to this, there's that aspect also, that this data is going to be used in a lot of places. Like quilling cards, certainly have Brandwise agencies that they're connected to. So as an example, so this data gets used again, and we're excited. Plus Big Map, and which is huge. Which is coming out in February. Big Map is Brandwise's answer to some of these large global marketplaces. You will have the opportunity to participate in that. There's no cost to it, and it's just going to be an option where you can say, yes, I want to be part of that as well. So the loading of the data will have even more value.
And just to reiterate again, the question about the product. So yeah, you want to always load a full product file. So if you load just an individual product, that's all that it will basically remove all the rest of your product, and you'll just have 1 product. So make sure you load all of them with, and the question about even the inactives with code 3, yeah, you want to give us, the first one's all 1s, and maybe you discontinue a couple, those are 2s, the inactives 3s, put all that stuff in the file.
Yep, just keep it in there.
That way we keep it clean and updated based on that data element. Yep.
And keep in mind, the data lives. You know, if you sell a product to a customer that then you discontinue, that product is still going to live in their order history. Oh, should I go into order history for a second, Todd? Should I go into the? Should I show? Does anyone want to see what the cart looks like if people are adding product to carts?
Might as well.
Sorry, Angela asked a question about QuickBooks. There are integrations with Brandwise that are available. These are additional services. They don't cost a lot. But Angela, there are already existing and more in development to have a connection between QuickBooks and your and Brandwise.
Yeah, and Angela, Megan can answer that question for you as well. So if you email her, she can email you. She can do that. And Alessandra, we spoke a little bit about this earlier, but yeah, the multiple products are on the roadmap. So they're not currently being developed, but it's definitely on the roadmap for the first half of next year to get the multiple images in. So that's coming.
I'm going to do some shopping now just to show what the cart experience looks like for a buyer, for anyone who hasn't seen it. So let's go back to the Lion. Okay, so I'm a buyer and I have a Lion exhibit coming up. So I start to add product. I like all of these products. I like this product. I like this product. I like this product. I'm going to buy some from Pomegranate. I'm going to buy 24 of these from Pomegranate. Add to cart. Add to cart. Carthartic. Okay, so now I go to my cart, and in my cart, I have, as a buyer, I have all the different orders that I started. Now this is really cool. See the red, the green? So each of you as a vendor, one of the parts of your onboarding process, you put forward your business rules, all of your variables. One of them is your opening order minimum. So in this case, these Anjou, Melange, and Wishbone, they haven't put any minimum, either because they don't have one or they haven't supplied the information. But Pomegranate has, and Kamabashi has, and Carthartic has. So I haven't met this minimum for Pomegranate, right? So it won't let me place the order. So now I can look at the order. I can choose my ship date as a buyer. I can choose all of this. Blue has a bunch of stuff in carts that she's waiting for January 3rd. She's building these orders. So I'm looking at these, and so I can say, well, you know what? I'll take 24. Here's the drop down. I'll take 16 of these, and I'll take 24 of these. So now have I gotten to? Let's see if I've gotten to the now I'm at 136.96. So I don't want any more of these. So I'm going to hit continue shopping. Now it takes me back into Pomegranate. So I'm back into Pomegranate, and I want to look for more Lion product because I want to get to the minimum order. I have those four. Oh wait, I don't have this. I'll take 36 of these, and I go back to my cart, and now Pomegranate has turned from red to green because now I've hit the minimum, and now I can place my order. So that's kind of what the functionality is like. They can go through, they can set the ship date, they can check out individually. The payment terms are set by you, and it's pretty cool. They can see all the different product that they have in their cart. Okay, let's go back to some questions. Any questions we didn't answer? Mark Weisberg, do you have any questions? Calling you out, Mark. Nope. Dean?
So any questions that you think of, or any contracts, if you want to get contracts signed, or you're looking for integrations, any of that, Megan is your person, so you should have her contact info. And then, as already mentioned, as we continue to get the new iterations out, we'll send that email will come out so you guys will know what's new. Categories will be the next big piece, so keep your eye out for that one.
And next year, there's on the roadmap catalogs with the ability to potentially hotspot them, which means they could order from the catalogs. That's on the roadmap. Videos are on the roadmap. All kinds of pieces are there that are going to keep being added throughout the year. We will tell you each time that they are. Remember, MSA Marketplace vendor action item is the subject line. We'll send one out, probably either very soon or as soon as this next iteration comes out with all the different pieces that you need to do. And now all we need to do is get the buyers to show up, which is going to be a group effort. We could build it, that they have to come, right? Just like coming to the expo. But there's already over 50,000 SKUs that are searchable, which is really, I'm quite proud of. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Philly asked, does communication go through Brandwise? Wait, what was the first part of the question? Does the customer receive our direct contact information when ordering? Absolutely, yes. This is not, the answer is yes. All the information is transparent on their order. Where does it show up? Would it be in their order history?
You go into order history, they'll see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Let's see here. I'll go into my order history with my one order that I placed.
Just click on the view, far right.
Oh, there's my order. Okay, so I clicked on view. And here, where's their
The
information?
New York Puzzle Company, and then under sales rep, administrator. So that's the administrator for that. So they don't have.
Does it come up when you print it?
You can't print it from here.
Okay.
Let's see what on the retailer copy if it comes up.
Okay. That's a good question, and if not, we'll make sure that that's there. Certainly, you can put your contact information into your brand profile, which Todd showed at the beginning. But that is a good question because obviously that contact information should be there.
Yeah, it should be in the order history, so we'll make sure that gets put in.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's put in the order history. So vendor contact. See, this is so useful. All right. Okay, how do you change minimum order or payment terms? Can you do this yourself somewhere? Right now, as part of the guide, there's a questionnaire. Todd, can we drop the link in to the chat? We'll include that in a follow-up email. The link in for the chat where they can put that information.
Yeah.
For right now, you submit it as part of a form. Diane, it's not it's not completely automated, but there's a form that you submit the information. Todd will drop that into the chat. And
I don't know, Callie or Megan, if you guys can grab that, that would probably be great.
Yeah,
we'll either drop it in the chat or we'll send an email.
Yeah.
Alessandra, right now the system is just putting a minimum in. We don't have the minimum order reorder logic built into this. We do on our other systems, but we don't on the website. So right now what you're putting in is just the minimum threshold for this order. So that 150 for pomegranates, it has to get above that in order to be valid.
Yeah.
If you don't have a product minimum, but in order minimum, where does that get put in? So the order minimum, to Ari's point, gets, what you do is you send us a profile that has your payment methods, your shipping methods, your min order, that type of stuff, and then we'll key it in for you. So that'll be part of that document that.
Right, and then you can set all your minimums. And then if you don't set a minimum on your transit file, and you just leave it at 1, then basically the order minimum is what will accomplish that for you.
If you leave if your product minimums are eaches,
right,
and you put $200 in for your minimum, you have to get $200 of eaches. You can also put your min and your multiple in for the product. So if you sell a minimum of 2 and multiples of 2, or a minimum of 6 and multiples of 1, that's in your product file.
And if you see that you've put in that it goes 6, you sell in 6s, but it goes 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's because you put in your minimum, but you didn't put in your multiples. That's what that means. There are items that can be ordered with minimums, availability confirmation, longer lead times. Would these be handled like custom products? Would I just create an exposure listing with follow-up instructions? Well, the longer lead time I would put into the product description, at which point they know. Whether or not you could, what I'd say is if they don't see that and they put in a ship date of tomorrow, that's going to give you an opportunity to have a conversation with them about that. But I would put it into the product description.
And just to give you some,
accomplish it.
I would agree. I think that works on the roadmap. So as I mentioned, getting parity from what we currently have in all of our systems for 20+ years to the new stuff, we have the ability for future available dates, and also for some different ways if you have longer lead times on product to set shipping dates into the future. It gets complicated when the retailer is looking at it that way because it can break things into different orders. So I think to Ari's point, adding something into your description and the detail that this is an item that may take longer, things like that makes a lot of sense.
And we will have, it's also on the future roadmap that that the buyers can open up multiple orders with you, because we know that that's how the buyers buy, right? They'll be looking at it for one exhibit, and then they'll want to be building an order for another exhibit, then they'll want to be building an order for another exhibit because they plan. That'll probably be, it's either going to be an option or it's going to be through the PO number. If they define it and then they create a new one, that's on the roadmap. It's not there right now. Right now, they can't open up multiple orders from one supplier, but that is coming. So they can split those orders or just start new ones from scratch, you know, as a new order.
I'll ask the question, which is a really good question, because I know we handle that, but I'm not sure we handle it on the website. That if a buyer puts product onto an order and then takes, let's say, a week or so to submit it, and in the meantime that product goes out of stock, does the cart come up and tell them there's no product available? I honestly don't know the answer to that. I know we handle that. I'm not sure if we handle it on this side.
I don't think it doesn't. If the quantity is listed as 0, it won't let them put it through in the order.
No, but if it's already in the cart, so when they added to the cart, they had stock. Because if you don't have it,
but
I need to test and see. I'm not sure.
I think that it draws it if it's available, because otherwise you could, you know, a buyer could unintentionally block somebody's stock by putting 10,000 into the field for everything, and then nobody else can get access to it. So I'm pretty sure that that's what happens, but we'll test that. That's a good question, Hala.
That is a good question.
Yes, Mark, we do anticipate allowing short production videos. For example, if anyone made a flip book, that's what Mark makes, by the way. If anyone made a flip book and wanted to show the animation, yes, videos are coming. First quarter, maybe, Todd?
Yeah, where they'll end up being, there's 2 places that we're thinking about. One is in the brand profile, so you could put a video about your company, and the other is in the product detail. When you click on a product detail, we've got plenty of real estate in there to bake the video in. So those are 2 places we're looking at. So again, on the roadmap, not on the active roadmap, but, you know, first half of the year, I would say, to be, you know, just kind of depends. There are items that can be ordered with minimums, availability. Oh, we just did that. Okay. All right.
Any other questions? I said I would stay on until all the questions were answered. And I apologize for the boxes behind me. I'm sending out gifts across the country, so we're in gift mode. Many of them made by many of you.
Well, actually, what he's doing is packing up all the stuff that's behind him on the counter, all his tchotchkes.
That's not true. And I'm sending everyone my belongings. It's a way to, you know, have fewer things. All right. Anything else?
We did put that link in the chat for you guys for the supplier defaults.
Thanks, Callie.
You're welcome.
Cool. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful. Thank you guys for joining. Something goes out of stock, listed as an active or removed from the listing. So good question, Diana. A few different things you can do for that. If it goes out of stock, you can set the stock to 0, and it'll still show up, but when they try to buy it, we'll tell them it's out of stock. Or you could make it discontinued or inactive until you get stock back in and then bring it back. But I would probably leave it at a 0 quantity so they can see the product.
So they can see the product, yeah. You know, because then if it's exactly what they're looking for, you want them to say, "Oh, I want that," or to reach out to you and say, "When is this back in?" Now, ideally, what you've done is you put an availability date, which is also part of transit. So you're out of stock, put the availability date that says, you know, February 14th, then they'll know that Valentine's Day they can place the order. So that's best practice if you can put a date on it.
Yeah, now that date's not going to take effect in the version of Reach yet, but it'll go through. It'll take it within the file.
Yeah.
But that's functionality that's being built in also to push it out to that future date.
Yeah.
Will restrictions be restricted? So Dan, on the character count, the long description.
It's 255.
Yeah, we have some other web descriptions which have become part of this that are 2,000 characters. So the answer, will it always be that short? No, we'll add more and more of what we call our web descriptions in, where you can do that. Diane, you put the availability date into the optional fields in your transit file. So you can put your quantity on hand and an available date. It won't affect reach yet, but it will soon. So if you start putting that in, then it will start to, at the point that we're splitting out on dates, it'll take effect. But it's in your transit file in the recommended field.
Grazie. Diane, prego, siamo felicissimi di essere di aiuto, di servizio. Auguriamo un buon Natale e un buon Capodanno.
Time for all of us to say good night. Exactly, Diane, exactly. You get a nice oy vey out of it. I like it. All right. Ari, I'm going to sign off and leave it to
All right,
you.
I think we're done. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Great
Anyone
questions.
have any other questions? No, that's it. All right, you all can figure out how to reach me if you need to reach me. But if any of you ever have a question, call me, call Megan, call support, and we'll make it work. Okay. And Peter Irwin, you're still on the call. I fully expect you to reach out to me that you want to be part of that custom committee. Thank you, sir. All right.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.